Alright, hello. So this is the demo video of a graduation speech 2026. I was nominated as a speaker, so this would be what I may send to them. It may not end up being the speech, but I would like to share it with all of you nonetheless. Because throughout my time at Constructor University, I have talked to so many great minds and mentors that give me all the knowledge and the wisdom that shapes me as a person. So today I would like to try my best to return the favor and share to you the most important lessons learned during my time here in search of the purpose of life. So I have graduated from the degree of biochemistry and cell biology in earlier in January this year, and the reason I study that has to do with pretty much everything in my career. So as the title would say, I always think about what's the purpose of life, right? What does life mean? Can we define what life means? And if we can, how would we do it? So the question I asked myself following that was, what do I want this life to mean? What's the biggest problem I dare to solve, or what do I want to leave behind? What would define my legacy for my existence on Earth? And the greatest problem that came across my mind is the global warming. This threatens not just us human, but most of life on Earth. Most is a bit bold claim, but sorry. Okay, so how do we tackle global warming? One of the ways is to take up greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and then allow heat to radiate back to the space. And that's the part of the problem that I want to solve. The way to do that, to me, is to use photosynthetic bacteria to take up the greenhouse gases and bring it back to Earth. Now, the challenge is that how do we keep the bacteria alive in the space to function, in the atmosphere for long enough to function, and at large enough of a scale to make significant impact? It's such a big project that there's no clear single answer. So I look back, okay, then what other conditions need to be fulfilled for this mission to succeed? And of course, you need a lot of people to do that. You need to have the right set of knowledge to do that. You need to understand the economy to not go bankrupt in the process. You need to be relentless enough to keep pursuing it until you succeed, and you need to be in the right place at the right time and with the right people, and you need to navigate yourself through a lot of unknown. And so with having identified these components needed for success, then I look back at, okay, how do my current self collect all of these? How do I work my way from here to fulfilling all the conditions? And that's why I study BCCP, because it provides the foundation knowledge, the understanding of how life works, the underlying mechanisms of it, before I start going on to engineer and start tinkering with it. And for the economy part, I've been having a career as an investor since 2020 to understand how successful companies and founders work, how they take care of their money, how do they grow and not go bankrupt, and for the tenacity. All of the people that change the world, they have immense capacity to tolerate pain and suffering. So that's something I train myself actively as well. We may be a bit short on time, so I don't think I could share all the details to you. I may one day. To be at the right place at the right time is also a bit tricky to discuss in this time frame, but I will discuss the people and the unknown part. So managing the people and build a successful organization, that is something, the skill I need to collect, right, and I need to practice. The way I practice that is by building Constructor Orchestra. So we started in May 2023 with 7 people, 5 go into the next semester, and then I go on to be its leader up until my graduation. We ended up with 30 plus members, 30 plus performances, so I think we did pretty okay. Now, there are many thoughts and efforts and time went into, making sure it runs well, but I would like to share to you the 3 most important ideas. So first of all, it needs to be run by love and not by fear. We want people to be driven intrinsically by the love of what we do, not by the fear of not doing it. And second, whenever we make decision, it's never about the action or the immediate consequence of the action, but it's all about the habit that the action we take would build. That's always our consideration. And third, this is the most important idea. Don't aim for what you could do. Aim for what you want to happen. Even if it's beyond what you can do, but you want it badly enough, you make it happen. That's the whole reason orchestra could exist in the first place. Now, navigating the unknown. How do we navigate the unknown? First and foremost, I think we ought to be able to ask the right question to start finding the right answer at all. And to ask the right question, I think what we need is the intuition. And how I develop intuition is by asking questions and not expecting immediate answer. I would first make my own prediction of the answer, and once I am told the answer, I would compare my prediction to the reality and see how far off am I. What can I correct in the thought process to arrive closer to the reality? So it's in terms of Daniel Kahneman's System 1, System 2 brain. The System 1, quick thinking, intuitive firing brain, right, would make the prediction. And once I'm told the result, the System 2 would slowly, deliberately correct the way System 1 works to better reproduce that reality, do that over the course of 20 plus years. Oopsie. And next, we need the ability to generate a novel solution. So for this, in my opinion, one needs a flexible starting point of thoughts, so not fixed to what you know prior to encountering the problem. This will be discussed deeper later on. Next, one needs the ability to self-correct, because without this, you need to get everything right the first time if you cannot correct yourself. So that's not realistic. And to be able to self-correct, I think you first need to have the honesty and the humility to admit that you're wrong sometimes. And to know that you're wrong, you have to be able to distinguish between the right and the wrong. So you need to understand what you do. That's kind of inevitable. But with this, it's a very important concept introduced. It's the self-improving system. And this will have a huge implication later on. Because when we go back to the career diagram, so this is something the 2017 Self of Mind came up with. And without the ability to self-improve, I would be stuck in this definition forever. And even the component of success was not so complete, right? So when I look at what do I correct myself now, the most obvious answer would be the longevity, because as a result of training that capacity to endure pain and suffering, it cost me a lot of health. So I need to be able to judge when to stop and when to start preserving my body and my mind, my health. That's something I need to correct myself in this summer, hopefully. But now, on the grander scheme of things, outside of doing these works, you also have to live. You have the education, you study from role models, you have mentor, you can study all the case studies. And as you grow, you obtain more knowledge and experience in the meantime. Then all of that learning could go towards updating the solution, right? So I learn more science each year. Then the better knowledge can go towards refining that scientific solution to make more sense. But the question now is that goal really the end point of everything? Is it that significant that everything I do has to go towards, improving or updating that goal? It seems a bit odd, right? It should not be that big. What if there's something at higher level that governs this career goal of mine, and something that every learning in my life perhaps go towards updating that? And if I were to coin the term, it would be the purpose of life that governs the definition of, what success in life would mean, what I want to do in life, what I want this life to mean. So there's that overarching purpose of life that is above all this, and that determines the career goal of mine. So now the idea of self-improving system make a little more sense, in the sense that I have the starting goal, right? And I live and I work my way towards achieving it. But in the meantime, the more I learn, then the more I update not only the scientific solution of it, but also the definition of what life actually means to me in the meantime. So I would want to talk about the purpose of life. What is it? Do we know it? And how can we really know it? Right, so I want to first distinguish between the functional purpose of life and the intentional purpose of it. So the functional purpose is like, you have a knife, and the knife is to be used for cutting things. That's a function is being built for. But it doesn't have the intention of what it wants to do. But that part I think we do have. And I think that there does not exist one complete definition of life that we all should conform to, but rather it's quite subjective, that we to a degree can define it for ourselves. And do we know it? I bet you don't. I don't. So here's how my argument to that. So you have in this the x-axis the time, and you have a definition of life. You define what your life means, what you want to do. You do our best to achieve that. Maybe you do that at 5 years old, you do it at 15, 25, doesn't matter. But once you get there, if you think you know it all, then you have to live with that definition the rest of your life. Then you can't really grow. The best you can do is to fit that primitive box of your first definition, right? But instead, if you think about it, along the way of growing to meet this definition of life, you have learned so much. So if you think about life as a flexible, self-improving system, then your learning in that time could go towards making a more sensible definition of life as you grow, and then you keep improving it. So the fact that we don't truly know what the purpose of our life is, then gives us sort of a good reason to believe that part of the purpose is the search of it in itself. And when we think about life as a self-improving system that can grow and correct over time, then it allows the definition of life to grow with us. For example, there were times I came across a research that the habit of a father can be transferred to the offspring. Then that strikes me, because my self-torturing habit to build that insane pain tolerance is not something I want to transfer to my kids, at least not at birth. They can develop it later on in their life if they want, but that's not something I'm going to give them at birth. So this realization sort of makes me have to update the definition of my life, and therefore, improving the sensibility of it for myself in the longer term.